knowledge. Inshallah, we'll be reading, discussing Surah 2, verse 234. I seek refuge in God from Satan, the rejected, in the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. So the heading says, You shall observe the pre-marriage interims. Those who die and leave wives, their their widows shall wait 4 months and 10 days before they remarry. Once they fulfill the interim, you commit no error by letting them do whatever righteous matter they wish to do. God is fully cognizant of everything you do. You commit no sin by announcing your engagement to the women or keeping it secret. God knows that you will think about them. Do not meet them secretly unless you have something righteous to discuss. Do not consummate the marriage until the interim is fulfilled. You shall you should know that God knows your innermost thoughts and observe him. You should know that God is forgiver, clement. So again, from the previous Quran study, God is discussing the marriage. If you read all these verses, mashallah, praise God for he covered pretty much all aspect of the marriage in detail. Uh, and then wherever you feel a little bit, God gives us common sense. It's not like God says that go to the mosque and take off shoes and this and that. Common sense kicks in. You have to be reverence, and in that reverence you fill in the blanks. God, and this is a blessing of God that he gave us a window and we can do. And in here all the critical elements have been mentioned and explained, like here, like even though a husband dies, in the previous verses we read that if you want to go party you have to wait 4 months, and here God says 4 months and 10 days. That is plenty of time for if in case the husband dies, and unfortunately for any reason, she could be pregnant, and that is enough time to see if there is a pregnancy going on, so you don't end up getting married with somebody else, and then there could be a problem. The guy may not doesn't want somebody else kid, or things like that can happen. So to prevent all that, God is making it a duty for all the basically who are believers to wait 4 months and 10 days. And as we see in the traditional Islam, it's called iddat, and it's completely abused. A lot of the marriage traditions that we see, especially in Eastern culture, is not from the Quran at all. Everything has been changed. Divorce is not what divorce is supposed to be. They call it either that the woman has to stay indoors for 4 months, and she cannot talk to anybody other than her immediate family, not even neighbor or someone, a friend or a distant relative. Only their son or husband, very close relationship, and she has to stay indoor for 4 months. If she's seen in the market during those 4 months, it is seen very, very negative. People are going to call that lady so many names, and if we don't see that in the Quran. If God would have said, he would have said it here, that you shall wait 4 months and 10 days and you do not mingle with anybody, you don't leave your home or anything. But it doesn't say that. It just, you don't marry during that time. That's it, period. And that's interim when is fulfilled, you commit no error by letting them do whatever righteous matters they do. So you mean your, like your brother or any immediate family member, or wherever she is living in that household where her husband has passed away, maybe she has children or whatever, whoever that you may be, this word you, God is saying you don't commit any error. If she wants to uh, be a righteous person and just preach and work righteousness and in the path of God and preach word of God or anything that she wants to do, you let them do it. You don't isolate them in the home or anything like that. If she wants to remarry, that's a good work. So you don't stop them. Or how are you going to get married? It's her choice. But if you stop it, you know how God says, you commit no error by letting them go, but if you stop them, now you're committing error. This is completely, then you will have to answer to God that why did you stop her? It was her free will, whatever she wants to do. And God is, I am fully cognizant of everything you do. I mean, amazingly, uh, an end of verses where God is telling us something very important, and then God will end with the verse with, I know everything. I'm the most cognizant. Whatever you do, you cannot cheat God, basically. Whatever your reason may be, you need to be very sincere in that matter. You have to be reverence to we really have to be reverence to God, that whatever decision I'm taking, it's within God's commandments. And you commit no sin by announcing your engagement. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that. If you like somebody and you want to talk to that person about your feeling, God says, or keep it secret, there is no sin on that either. And this is how engagement process starts. Messenger of the Covenant explained that you have to get married for like the one you love, and you take a time. I think he talks about a year, get to know that person. That's what a proper way to get married, so you don't instantly, or somebody force you to marry somebody, or somebody say, okay, I have this person, just get married. No, that's not the way marriage works. You need to know the person, you need to love that person when you get married. And that's a plenty of time to know that person. You like somebody, you get an engagement with that person, and this person also responds to you, and then you talk to that person. I guess nowadays it's a lot easier. You don't even have to meet in privacy. Like, do not meet them secretly, because God is protecting us in every way. Because if you like meet somebody in the restaurant, and somebody else sees you, they're gonna think bad about you, that, oh, look at this person, he tries to be so righteous, and look at, he's meeting that girl in the things like that can, and lead to one thing can lead to another thing. You're meeting together, and that can also, sometimes you're in your weak moments, and something can happen. So God is protecting you in everything. God is saying, unless you have something righteous to discuss, maybe setting dowry, maybe talking about marriage or something, or maybe religion talk, or maybe Quran study, anything like that. That's okay. But as long you know that God knows everything, and that you're not cheating God. You just to meet that person, say, let's go Quran study. Just for that reason, so you can meet that person, but your intentions were different. You want to just meet that person alone, and so God knows our intentions. Your intention has to be righteous from the beginning. So a lot of small things can happen where we don't realize our emotions, and we end up falling, committing a sin. In any matter, we should always repent to God for any reason. We make mistakes all the time, so repenting all the time is one of the good thing, and try our best. And then God said that, do not consummate the marriage until the interim is fulfilled. That links to this previous verse. Like, person you want to engage, her husband has died, and so you, even during that 4 months, you can do the announcement, because God says, do not consummate the marriage until the interim is fulfilled. So that means that lady who's waiting for 4 months and 10 days, she can talk to people. The guy can talk to her, and said, I understand your husband died, or something like that, and then you want to announce your engagement, but you still have to wait. That also clearly explains that during the 4 months, she is not bound to home. This is my understanding. She can be free and do whatever she wants to do. She just can't get married. That's the thing. That you should know that God knows your innermost thoughts. Again, see, and observe Him. You should know that God is forgiver, Kaliman, at the same time. So He knows our innermost thoughts. A lot of time we make mistake, and we should repent. God is not saying that you should repent to me all the time, but God mentions this by saying that I'm a forgiver, Kaliman. God is giving us a hint that, I'm going to forgive you. The only sin that we know there, like two sins that they are not forgiven. That one is that idol worship, and the one is the believer kills intentionally another believer. These are unforgivable sin. Like, if you die as a disbeliever, that is unforgivable. So another thing is important is that, your husband has died, and obviously you have emotions, and if you like that person, you don't want to break the engagement. You also want to see that if she's hurt, like, obviously somebody has passed in your family, and you emotionally, and you come and talk to that person. You have to see all the situations, how things are, basically. And then this person, maybe, they're sleeping together, and then all of a sudden God is trying to make everything pure. Like, God doesn't want a lady to go and have another marriage right away. There is a purifying process. This is designed by God. Somebody might say that why this so difference? A man can have more than one wife, but then more than one wife, there's a strict process that you have to go through to be able to marry two women. Very, very strict process. I mean, you can't even imagine. God even says that you can never do that. You can, and you may never. God is saying you can never be just between two women. So why even going that way? But there's a very, very strict process to have two wives, and that is also really abused in the traditional Islam, and people don't understand the difference. But these are God's laws. God has created equally human and women and men, and certain things women gets benefit, and certain things men gets benefit. But at the end of the day, if you do the math, everything pretty much out equals. Uh, you can, and then the next verse is breaking the engagement. You commit no error by divorcing the women before touching them or before setting the dowry for them. In this case, you shall compensate them, the rich as he can afford, and the poor as he can afford. An equitable compensation. This is a duty upon the righteous. If you divorce them before touching them, but after you had set the dowry for them, the compensation shall be half of the dowry, unless they voluntarily forfeit their rights, or the party responsible for causing the divorce chooses to forfeit the dowry. To forfeit is closer to righteousness. You shall maintain the amicable relationship among you. God is seer of everything you do. So again, like for example, you announce the person, and you're at the point you're getting married, and God is saying you commit no error by divorcing women, and even marriages happen. And for some reason, something pops up that you didn't know before, and for some reason, you think that it's not going to work, and you are absolutely sure that this marriage is not going to work. So why continue with something that you know the destination is going to be bad, or maybe you end up getting a divorce about a year later, or in any sense. And if you want to break the marriage, but you haven't have any relationship yet, you haven't touched that person yet, uh, then or before setting the dowry for them. So God is saying there's no error in that. There's no sin by doing that. And God goes to this extent to clarify that if for some reason you have already married but you haven't slept with that person yet, then it's okay to divorce. You have no sin on you. Don't worry about it. It's better to be doing now than doing 10 a year, 2 years later, when both of you're hurt. You may have children and all that. To prevent, do it now before anything happens, and there's no error in that. So people can relax and calm that, okay, this is can be in that sense. In this case, you shall compensate them, the rich as he can afford, or poor as he can afford. So maybe you guys can clear me in the end of in the question answer session that it is the message of the covenant explains that, like, the 1 year, do you get married and then wait 1 year before you have intimate relationship, or that's a engagement process. So maybe that 1 year you get married, but you don't become intimate, and you live separately, and in that time maybe you can divorce that person. And so there's a couple of questions in that, so which I didn't understand. Inshallah, we can discuss this. So God says, in this case, the composition, you shall compensate them. If it depends on how much you earn. I mean, somebody makes $200,000 a year. I mean, that person should give that person according to that. And the poor person, if he makes very little money, then just all depending on whatever they can afford. God goes to put the word afford in that. And God says an equitable compensation, and this is the duty upon the righteous. So basically, if you really look at the traditional Islam, they are really not breaking laws. And if you really look at this verse, this is the duty upon the righteous. God is saying this is not for anybody else. These are the believers, the righteous people. They actually, who submit to God alone. That is, these rules are for those people. And out of that circle, they are people are on the outside the circle. They have so many other things to worry. These things are not even, they are not even worshiping God alone. So these laws basically are for the people who are righteous and believers in God. They will have to answer for not only for these laws, they will have to answer many other things to God. If you divorce them before touching them, but after you had set a dowry. So there's a little different situation here. Nothing has been arranged yet, and you divorce them before anything. But here, the dowry has been set. Like for example, you said let's set a dowry for $10,000. The compensation should be half, so you have to give them $5,000 because that's half. Unless the wife, the tenant woman forfeits. They say no, I don't want any of the money. You can keep the rest of all the money, and then there's no problem in that. Or the person who started or caused the divorce, like maybe the girl's family, they don't want their daughter to marry the guy. They say no, we don't like this guy, or whatever the reason, and that's the responsible party chooses to forfeit. So the girl's family, if they decide, or the girl herself decide, then because see how God is so merciful. The party responsible for causing the divorce, this party, the husband wants to marry, but the girl maybe wants to marry, maybe not. But the parents, they don't want the girl to marry, and she agrees with their parents. So God wants to protect the husband, and God is saying they choose to forfeit their dowry, and to forfeit is closer to the righteousness. So God is giving them an option, even though they caused the divorce. God is telling them that to forfeit is closer to the righteousness, that you did the problem. You can still take the half of the money, but since you caused the problem, you are the one who are thinking that you want to get divorced from the girl side. And so be nice, don't take the money from him. This is how God explains to us. And the most important thing is that the girl and the husband and the wife, they are the one should make the main decision, because they are the one going to be living. You shall maintain the amicable relationship among you no matter what happens. you know don't fight, don't argue. This is a mutual understanding. It's for better for both of you. So be amicable, respect each other. And God is saying, I am seeing everything what you do. So he's a seer of everything we do. And think about it, this world is an opportunity to go to heaven. So no matter where we get opportunity to be righteous, do righteous. That is the best path, no matter what happens. If you have you don't want to be right all the time. If you have opportunity to be righteous, that's better. You can say, oh, this is my right, but God is encouraging, be righteous and forfeit the dowry. That's better for you. You shall observe the contact prayers. You shall consistently observe the contact prayers, especially the middle prayer, and devote yourself totally to God. Under unusual circumstances, you may pray while walking or riding. Once you are safe, you shall commemorate God as He taught you that you shall commemorate God as He taught you what you never knew. So the footnote explains about the miracle of 19 according to the rakat. Sometimes people have questions about the where the salat and everything is in the Quran. So it says here for the footnote, all five prayers are found in Surah 2 to 38, Surah 11, 114, Surah 17, verse 78, and Surah 24, verse 58. And these verses clearly give you the numbers of the time of the prayers. When the Quran was revealed, the contact prayer Salat had already been in existence. Appendix 9. The details of the five prayers, what to recite, and the number of the units, rakats, per prayer, etc., are mathematically confirmed. For example, writing down the number of the units for each of the five prayers next to each other, we get 2 for the Fajr, Zohar, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. 2, 4, 4, 3, 4. Which is, if you put in the calculator this number and divide it by 19, you get a even number. A full number without a decimal is a perfect pair of 19, 19, 19. When you see this number, 1 to 86, that's mean this number has 1,286 pairs of 19. You have a box, you fill up with 19 balls, you have another box, and at the when you have 1,286 boxes, the last box will have even 19 balls, and there will be no extra ball left, or a box with one you need few balls. So it's a pair of 19s. That's how we God explains the miracle of 19. And look at the number 24434. There's only one odd number here, and imagine the 19 is an odd number. And if you multiply the table of 19, there's not very many times where you get four even numbers like that. and they are multiple of 19. This is amazing. Also, if we use the asterisk to represent surah number 1. So all these asterisks are representing surah 1. In that sense, what it says is that okay. So first of all, you have this number 2, then this bracket here. In this bracket, what you're going to fill out is, and it's a very long number. It will take some time. So you have to really sit down and do it. Okay, so you're going to write the number Surah Al-Fatiha, which is like Surah number 1, and followed by the number of verses, which is 7. So you're going to write 7, and then you're going to write the number of verses in for each verse, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then each verse, how many letters that is, like Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So how many letters that so you're going to write that number in respectively for each verse. Okay, then for each verse, the geometrical value of the each letter you're going to write down, and then each number for each verse 1, how many, what's the geometrical value 2. So you do that for the first rakat. Surah 2, the first rakat is the second rakat. Then you go to Zohar, four units, then you do the same number here and same number here, and then there are 4 rakats, and then you keep filling up the blanks, and then at the end you have a very long number, which is multiple of 19. People, they say, okay, well, you do this, you do that, you put that number, you try to make it 19. Everything is, I mean, how many times you can say, what a coincidence, this is a coincidence. God is seer, God knows everything. I mean, this is like making mockery of God's miracle, and people will have to really, really respond to the most gracious on the day of judgment, that how come when my miracle came to you, you start making fun of it, making excuses and all that. So here we know that God is talking about the marriage, and all of a sudden God is going to plug in contact prayer. And if you read after that, God goes back to the divorce, the issues and stuff like that. Amazingly, when you read it, God is bringing our attention back to the contact prayer, that you come to meet me 5 times a day. So whatever you're doing, okay, you made the wrong decision and you didn't repent, or you have some other intentions, you're going to come back to me to pray, right? So how are you going to face me? So in so many ways, there's so many reasons why God plugs in contact prayer in the middle of an important discussion, and then go back to the topic God is discussing. And then God is saying consistently is the word. This is so important. We don't miss our food or meal. We look up to our meal. This is how we should look up for the contact prayer. Azor is coming. We should be excited that we're going to meet our Lord. And especially the middle prayer, we probably don't know what is the value of the middle prayer, but this middle prayer is the Asr prayer that we should look up to it. To maybe this has some special value in it. Maybe sometimes you go meet your boss or something, and sometimes he's like in a very good mood or something in that sense, that it's maybe you're more closer to God, or whatever the reason may be. But God says, especially the middle prayer. It doesn't mean that you just do the middle prayer. You cannot miss the middle prayer and do the other one. God says consistently observe the contact prayer and devote yourself totally to God. That's the thing. This is where your happiness comes from. Messenger of the Covenant even say that in his mosque says submission, happiness is from, I think, for submission to God alone. They say he wants to change the word submission to devotion, because that's a better word. Happiness is from absolutely devotion to God alone. That's one of the audio he says that. So mashallah, yeah, absolutely. This is, and then God even excuses us, like if you're stuck in the traffic, in the middle of the traffic jam, you had every intention that you're going to get home and you'll be able to pray, and then unusual circumstances can happen. Now in the middle of the road, you cannot, you say, okay, maybe 15 minutes left, I can get home, but now you don't have time. In that sense, God says you can pray while walking or riding. You cannot get out of the freeway and then there's no way to do it. I mean, one time I get up in the morning, it was a Fajr time, and it was plenty of time for me to go home and see how God tests us. I could have prayed at my workplace. I mean, the prayer just started. I said, no, I can get home. It was my intention. I can get home. And I was hit traffic jam one after another. And I'm like frustrated. I said, what's happening? And it was like until like only 10, 15 minutes left. And I was like, this is really bad. If I have opportunity, I should do it. I should not count on that. Okay, I can do it later. Maybe that later never come. So I literally have to pull out the freeway and just literally do it within seconds to spare. And it was just a very bad experience. I mean, this is how God teaches us. Our intentions should be every intention that I can do it on time. I don't fall into the unusual circumstances. While this is an excuse that is there, but my intention should be, if I'm going for a market, if I'm going to shopping, if I'm going to play a game or whatever, watch a sport or whatever, I need to make sure that that's a lot what I'm going to do with it. I don't want to fall into the situation. You're sitting in the game maybe, and there's a lot of audience, and you have 2 hour window, and you want to look for that opportunity. I mean, this is my understanding that I can get up for 10 minutes and go to prayer, go somewhere on the side or balcony, whatever, any quiet place, and do the prayer and come back. I don't want to wait until the end and then I'm doing my prayer on the chair. So you don't want to fall in that, but this is there for us to use it, mashallah. And alimony for the widows and divorcees, those who die and leave wives, a will shall provide their wives with support for a year, provided they stay within the same household. If they leave, you commit no sin by letting them do whatever they wish, so long as righteousness is maintained. God is Almighty, most wise. The divorces shall be the divorces also shall be provided for equitably. This is the duty. This is a duty upon the righteous. God thus explains His revelations for you, that you may understand. Again, God's talking about protecting, the women's right, alimony for the widows and divorcees. A lot of time in traditional, they just divorce 3 times and just kick them out of home. That you can't even live in the same household. This is how, when you were living with that person, you were intimate relationship, you have children, and all of a sudden you can't even stay in the home house. God says those who die or leave their wives, you know, a will shall provide their wives with the support for a year. So as God tells us in the previous verses that we should write a will, it's a duty upon us that we should write a will and be equitable with whatever we gonna divide, because God is the one who controls life, and that we don't know when we're gonna die. So it's better to write a will so that you're looking out for everything, that how much your wife is gonna need for 1 year, so you give her that money through the will, you know and then provided they stay in the same household. Some situations where wife does not live with the husband, she may be living in her parents home or something like that, or in a different house or something, that she's not even living with the husband in that circumstances. So you have to give support for 1 year. If they leave, it's upon them. I mean, they say they don't want to stay in that home. It's, you commit no sin by letting them do whatever they wish to do. Again, if you stop them, no, you're committing a sin. It's their free will. If the husband has died or left, they you don't if they want to move back to their parents' home or whatever they want to do, you let them go, so long as the righteousness is maintained. I mean, if you think that she's going to go and do some bad work or something, that's where I guess maybe you can step in and start to stop or something, I guess. But at the end of the day, it's her free will. God is Almighty, most wise. Those The divorcee shall also be provided with equitably. So if you divorce somebody, you have to provide them whatever that your status is. This is a duty upon the righteous. So you don't. This person has been living in your home and taking care of your kids or whatever the situation is, and you don't want to throw them on the street. You have to be. You're responsible. Like Messenger said, that put your money where your mouth is. Your kids. He's taking care of your kids, and if you decide to take that action, you have to be responsible to take all the. You need to take care of the kids, you have to provide for that. If she wants to keep the kids, you let her have the kids, so you provide for the kids. And in all the circumstances, just like sometimes you see in the Western culture, they follow the Quran more than their traditional Islam. There's alimony set for the wife, there's the child support is set for the kids according to the how much has been made. The court decides, okay, what is your last year income tax, and they decide, okay, this is you're supposed to pay every month. God thus explains His revelations for you, that you may understand. So this is all the explanation coming from God. And then God is saying, striving in the cause of God. Have you noted those who fled their homes though they were in the thousands, fearing death. God said to them, "Die," then revive them. God showers His grace upon the people, but most people are unappreciative. You shall fight in the cause of God and know that God is here nor. Who would lend God a loan of righteousness to have it repaid to them in multiplied manifold? God is the one who provided, God is the one who provides and withholds, and to Him you will be returned. God is talking about a community that God is putting a question like, have you noted those who fled their homes? And they fled, they were persecuted or in persecution, or they were not allowed to practice their religion, or reasons like that. And they were in thousands, fearing death. Now, there's a question mark here. I mean, you were in thousands, and you fear for death. And if you were a righteous, if you were a believer, you should have faith in God, because we're going to read the next story, David and Goliath, where they said at the end that the few people, I mean, paraphrasing, can fight big groups with the blessing of God. So here they fled in fear of death. So they're afraid they're gonna die. They don't want to fight. They don't want to stand up for their right or whatever. If they were weak, maybe one family, or they were so weak, then you migrate to a different place. But these are God saying they were in thousands. They still flee death. That's so bad behavior. You could have stand up for your rights and have your community. Maybe by looking at you, people would have become believers. Some of people may, from the disbelieving community, they may have become believer. This is kind of a scene of Jonah. When he was assigned to his duty, he fled. So he was not supposed to fly, but here they're in thousands. So God told them, die. This is like a sort of like a warning. You were fearing death from these people. I'm the one who control. God says, I'm the one control die. And God says, die, and they died, and God revived them back to life. So if you think about it, everybody suffers to death. One we did in the heavens, and people gonna suffer second death. Righteous, they don't die again. They only suffer one death that we suffered, all of us in heaven. They go straight to heaven. And most people suffer two deaths, but this community, they literally gonna suffer. They suffered three deaths. So this is additional death to them. They already died, and they died again, and then they're gonna die again. Maybe some people will be saved from this community, but who knows? And then God is saying that He showers after even they made such a horrible mistake, and God taught them a lesson. And this is God is showing that this is a mercy that most people are unappreciative at that point. When they were dead and they came back to life, they should have realized at that time that, wow, what a blunder we had made. They should have repent, and they can go back and do the, maybe that's, it could be a story related to the David and Goliath, but we don't know that. But maybe you guys can clear me on that. And God is saying you shall fight in the cause of God. So if you had opportunity, you shall do it by means of teaching, talking, even if it comes to where they're prosecuting you, or persecution, or whatever, all these things. If you can fight, you should fight in the cause of God, and know that God is the here and now. He knows everything. Who would lend a loan of righteousness? Who would lend God a loan of righteousness? I mean, these are the verses that should really bring us to our knees towards God. God is going to this extent to asking people that you want to lend a loan of righteousness. God had made it as a loan, that you be righteous to me. That's a loan you're giving to God. I mean, of course, God doesn't need any loan or anything, but God is coming to this. That should really make us cry, make us really humble, that God is coming to this level, asking me to give a loan, and only to pay it in multiplied manifold. I mean, how, think about it, the most gracious, most merciful, coming to this extent to save us. The horrible mistake we made in the previous life, and God is coming to this extent, that God has created these 7 universes with trillions and trillions of galaxies, and uh, gazillions of living things, and all the stuff, just to save us, the human beings. you know Beside the Satan theory and all that. But this is, for if you look at it from our perspective, that from a human side, that this is to us, to save us. Otherwise we would have been already, the judgment was already been issued, that we were supposed to go to hell because we did not side it with God. But He gave us another chance. And then coming to this point that God is asking for righteous loan and in a shape of loan. I mean, this is really uh, very very sad to look at it, that God is coming to this point, like a mother is going to his child who doesn't want to listen, and literally like going on her knee to the child, that please listen to me, I'm your mother, you know. And then just some sense I'm trying to put this in a right the prospect that maybe we can understand how God is coming to us. We should run towards God after reading this kind of verses. God is the one who provides and withholds. To him you will be returned. Basically that's what it is. And then I think I have this little time. I'm just gonna read this first part, inshallah. And this is the story of Saul. Have you noted the leaders of Israel after Moses? They said to their prophet, "If you appoint a king to lead us, we will fight in the cause of God." He said, "It is your intention that if it is your intention that if fighting is decreed for you, you will not fight." They said, "Why should we not fight in the cause of God? When we have been deprived of our homes, our children, yet when fighting was decreed for them, they turn away except a few. God is aware of the transgressors." This is this same history. This same history is narrated in Bible of 1 Samuel and chapter 9 and chapter 10. Questioning God's wisdom, their prophet said to them, "God has appointed Talut, Saul, to your king, to be your king." They said, "How can he have kingship over us when we are more worthy of kingship than he? He is not even rich." He said, "God has chosen him over you and has blessed him and blessed him with an abundance in knowledge and in the body. God grants his kingship to whomever he wills. God is bounteous, omniscient." Here this community, this is after Moses passed away, and they wanted to, they had a prophet, and they want to ask this prophet that, can you appoint a king for us, and so we can, and give us okay that we can fight. So like, if I mean, you have to have reason to have fight. So they have a prophet, and they want to ask the prophet to, maybe they have a link with God or something, that can we fight, and make a leader among us, so we can go. And because then when the prophet says to them, "Is it your intention that if the fighting was decreed to you, you will not fight?" You're asking for something, you want to fight, and if God says okay, and then when the okay comes from God, and you will not fight, they say, "Why should not we fight?" They're questioning back to the prophet, because they're deprived of their homes, or the children, but yet when the fighting was decreed for them, they turn away except a few. So finally, when God says okay, I mean, the prophet says okay, yeah, you can fight, and then they turn away. God is aware of the transgressors, and it's this story is in Bible too. Here's the thing: questioning God's wisdom. So God tests us in so many ways. So they wanted the prophet, and finally they were allowed. And who God chose as their, as a king over them, their prophet said to them, "God appointed Talut, Saul, to be your king." They said, "How can he can have kingship over us when we are more worthy of kingship?" I mean, do you resemble this verse with 15:33? He said, "I am not to prostrate before a human being whom you created from aged mud, like the potter's clay." What a resemblance these both verses have. You know, so, oh my God. I mean, they are deprived. They don't have the access to kid. They want to fight. And look, even at that point, your ego is so bad, is pushing you to the limits. And no, we don't want that guy. We have, in our community, we have a lot of rich and people, that why don't you make them king? I mean, objecting to God. I mean, you are in such a desperate need of your homes and your kids and your family, right? But even though at that point your ego say, "No, I want to be, I don't care about your kids, your family. I want to be the first." I mean, how bad he goes, this is our worst enemy, you can say. And they're questioning God's wisdom. How can he be? He said God has chosen him. And what the response from the prophet? God is the one choosing. I'm not the one choosing him. This is God's decision over you. And God has blessed him with abundance of knowledge and body. So this guy, Talut, he was physically very, very strong, and he has a lot of knowledge, abundance. And this is what God's decision. Even though he doesn't have money, but he has knowledge and body. He has wisdom. And God grants his kingship over whomever he wills. So whatever the decision comes from God, it's the best decision, whatever it is. We may not understand right now. We may question, like we read the divorce process. A lot of people will have questioned that why women have this not right and men has this advances on women, and God is favoring him more. No, it's not a favor. Everything is equal in God's kingdom. So we just submit to God. This is what God says. This is what we do. Had they, when the fighting was decreed, had they, would all of them would have accepted. Yeah, this is it. We're gonna fight, and God says, Talut is your king. Yes, sir. He's our king, and they submit to God's will. Everything would have been so hard. And here God says that the Ark of the Covenant. Yeah, inshallah, I'll just stop here. This end. Their prophet said to them, the sign of his kingship is that the Ark of the Covenant will be restored for you, bringing assurance from your Lord, and left by the people of Moses and the people of Aaron. It will be carried by the angels. This should be a convincing sign for you if you are really believers. David and Goliath. When Saul took command of the troops, he said, God is putting you to the test by means of stream. Anyone who drinks from it does not belong with me. Only those who do not taste it belong with me, unless it is just a single sip. They drank from it, except few of them. Then he crossed it with those who believed. They said, now we lack the strength to face Goliath and his troops. Those who were conscious of meeting their God. I mean, these are above the believers. These are believers, who believed with them. But these are the ones who are conscious of God, meeting God. Many a small army defeated a large army by God's lead. God is with those who steadfastly persevere. Relics that came from somewhere. Again, Ark of the Covenant. So their prophets say to them, God gave them sign. God does not just leave them in the middle of nowhere. God says he's going to give you a sign that will assure you that he's with you the whole time. The whole reason for bringing the restoring and bringing the assurance to them was some of the things that left from Moses and Aaron, and angels will be carrying it. This should be convincing signs for you if you are really believers. So you know how God says in Surah 74, miracle about the miracle of 19, it assures, it makes the belief of the believers higher than miracle of 19. So in that sense, these are believers, and when they see the angels carrying that the suitcase or whatever the box is, has things left from Aaron and Moses, and they're going to look at it, and that's going to assure them that this is not a coincidence, and he's already telling them ahead of time. And when that happens, that only going to make them believe in the whole process, that victory lies up ahead. That's it. You do it, and then you're going to be. So when he took the command, when the Saul took the command, you know then God tests them. So I'm pretty sure those who were convinced and were believers, and they were absolutely sure, they did not drink from that stream. Only those who were weak, they drank from it. And God even go to that extent, unless it is just a single sip. Like if you took just a little sip, then you're fine. But a most righteous person would not even sip it. This is God had give you one side and completely the other side, and give you just a little small in the window in the middle. But you want to be righteous, you want to strive to that side. You don't even want to take a sip. Maybe it could be more than a sip. How do I define a sip? So a most righteous person would not even go to the middle ground and, okay, God may say that I can unless just a single sip. No, I don't want to drink it. Probably they were traveling and there was heat or something, and all of a sudden you see such a water stream going. You are like anxious, you want to take a sip, but you have assurance. You have the Moses and Aaron's things left behind. You have all this assurance. Now there's a test. There's such a. I mean, this is how God tests us. And there were only few people. You know, when they crossed it, those who believed, they say, now we lack strength to face Goliath. So only very few of them didn't drink, and we don't know how many just took a sip, but few of them were very few, very few. And when they crossed, when they crossed it, those who believed, they said, no, we lack strength. Yeah, definitely they lack strength to face Goliath and their troops, because they know that even though these people, they drank it, but they are not going to be able to fight because they're out of believing community. They didn't believe because that's what the prophet says. No, there are only very few left, and now they realize that even though they're believers, they're unstable. But what these people says, those who were conscious of meeting their God, they said we were absolutely sure that we're gonna meet God. What a beautiful statement. Many a small army defeated large army by God's leave. So it's God who makes you lose and win battles. I mean, this is Surah number 2, and I think this is pretty much in there. It was in Medina, and they have a lot of fights to come. And God is this from the previous stories, teaching them and us at the same time that you're gonna be in battles. And Surah number 9, Surah number 8 talks about the battles, and to assure them that don't worry, you're gonna win too if you really believe in God and conscious of day of judgment. God with those who steadfastly persevere. So basically, this is inshallah. I'll end it here. It's about 45 minutes, and we can ask question and answers. Thank you. Praise God. And did we lose the audience?
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, so I had actually one question, but it's two questions actually, but it's not about this topic. It was one is about zakat again, and the other one is about the concept of God is running everything. Uh, is that okay? For it's out of context. Today's Quran study.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, brother.
Also,
Sorry, I could not answer because my phone gets this. I get stuck on a place where I cannot click on to open the voice. Can somebody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you
yes,
now.
we can.
Now I just had to log in again. Sorry. Thank you, mashallah, for the Quran study. Praise God. I'm keeping it the voice on. Sorry. Go ahead for questions. I'll ask. I'll comment later. God willing.
Should I should I give my question? It was
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
zakat.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Um. So okay. Um. For me to calculate my zakat, I know it's like whenever you have an income without the text, you can 2.5% is that. But as a businessman, you get some income from the projects you do, and I can choose for myself to put the money in my private account, then that will be my profit and for private use. Or I can take the amount and stop it back in my company and then uh, try to make more profit of it. So the question is, should I um, should I firstly look at the profit that I made and then calculate the zakat, or is it about taking the money and using it for privately?
I can answer that,
Mm.
inshallah. So, anything from the profit, not from the original investment in any business. So, whatever your profit is, after, like, if people have employees giving their uh, whatever you think is going to go to your pocket. For example, if somebody has employees, they give their wages, and if there is a how a building to pay the rent and all that, um, after, which are like regular expenses of the business, but net profit, whatever you made, you will inshallah calculate from there the 2.5%.
Yeah, okay, but I can choose myself. I can choose the amount um, to use it for private things or to invest it back in my business for marketing, for example. But I could also choose not to invest that in marketing and take it as a profit, and I can use it for private things. So the thing was like, okay, if I can freely choose to um, to take an amount from my company, then I should pay my zakat, and I should calculate from that amount. I hope that's clear, but
Okay, so one, with the business, there are certain things which are like a permanent expense, right? The permanent expense, if that you must do, yeah, that is your choice whether you how much you're gonna do. But whatever the return of a business is and whatever comes in your possession as net profit.
I think the word you're looking for is not not profit, but we're talking about income,
Income,
net
sorry.
income.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay, go ahead.
because yeah, because you're supposed to give your zakat not on profit, but on your net income. So there's a big difference between your net income and your net profit. Let's say you spend $100 uh, in your business, uh, right? Whatever it is, that $100 that you use as an investment into your business, that was, let's say, the money that you had earned. That was your purified money that somehow came into your pocket. Someone gave you $100. You gave the cut on it. And whatever amount you had, and then you were left with $100. First of all, so that was purified money in this case that you used, let's say, to invest, right? For the sake of simplicity, let's say now you use that money in whatever way to put into your business, and at the end of the month you received $110, right? So then you calculate tax that you have to pay out of that on the $110 that you received, and then you're not going to give your charity on $10. You're going to give your charity on $110 minus whatever the tax was, right? So that's the difference between net income and net profit. Your net profit was let's say about roughly about $10, give or take whatever the tax was, but then your net income was $110. So because you got the $110, now it's up to you. The money is yours, whether you had you know used it for like whatever investments and whatnot. Now you have $110. So you have to pay the tax on the $110, and whatever else is left, you give the charity on that, because that money now is yours. Now it's up to you how you want to invest and whether you want to invest or not, you know. So, but the money is yours, it's in your pocket, and you choose what to do with it. But as far as the taxes are concerned, you have to pay those taxes no matter what, right? So that money is not yours. But the other money that goes back into the business or not, that still is your money. Unless you work for a company and you're an employee, then you just pay taxes, and then whatever the money comes in your salary, you just pay taxes on that, right? But let's say you're the owner of the business, whatever money comes in as your net income, you pay tax on that, not on just on your net profit. So basically, if you're, let's say you're working as a consultant for a company, or a businessman, and let's say you have a merchant account, you're making, uh, you're selling, whatever kind of goods, right? So whenever you get your payments from whichever these clients are that pay you, you know as soon as you get that money, you just know how much money came into your bank account. You just minus the taxes and you pay it out. Whatever else is left, you calculate 2.5%, and that's it. Now whether you want to, move that money into your personal account or business account, or you want to invest all of it or none of it, that's irrelevant at that point.
Thank you. Now I
But
understand.
what about the employee pays and rent?
Well, these are your expenses, right? Now, these are your expenses, but that's the point is that the money that comes into your account, you have to, it's yours. How you want to spend it, that's up to you. So you have to give
No,
your,
but it's not your money. It's the suppose you earn $100,000. If you have like four employees, each one getting $5,000 a month pay, so that 5,000 is not yours. That's for these employees, and they're gonna pay their
well,
in.
these are your expenses at that point, right? But you have the point to remember is, it's clearly stated that you pay the charity on your net income. Like, even if you look at the footnote that the messenger of the covenant has put, he says clearly net income. So if it's a business, you still have your net income. If it's your salary, you just pay the taxes, and then you pay out of that. So the money is still yours. Whether you pay the some employees or not. That's
No,
that you I mean that's different, right? You have to pay rent also, for example, right? You can say, well, I have to pay rent, that's not my money. Yeah, you have to pay rent for the building for sure, but these are your expenses, right? So for the sake of simplicity, God makes the religion very simple. 2.5% is not a lot of money. But
no,
yes, right. So the thing is, you have to pay for the buildings, you have to pay for parking, you have to pay for the many things. There's like determined amounts that, fixed amounts you have to pay, right? Let's say you have to pay for your cell phone bill as well, not just employees. You have to pay so many things that you know exactly how much amount you have to pay, just like salary. But once again, these are your expenses. But before doing that, as soon as the money comes, you minus the taxes and you pay it out. That's as simple as that. It's not like you it's not like, when we are getting money from the IRS, right, that we have deductions, that, okay, I did this and did that, and now I'm going to deduct all of this money and get that back. You just pay 2.5%. Just the only thing that you don't pay charity on is your, basically your, taxes, because that's not your money, that's government's money, and government takes it no matter what. But employees, let's say you can have one employee, you can have 10 employees, right? So it doesn't matter, that's your choice how many employees you want to keep as part of your business, right? So that still goes into the same thing as your investments, but it doesn't matter at that point. This the simple thing that, we take away from this, and what the messenger says is, you pay the charity on net income, not your net profit. And just the only thing that you don't pay zakat on is your, uh, taxes that go towards the government. For sure, you have a set
Yeah, actually
percentage, and
makes
you're
a lot
paying
of
that.
sense.
So Yeah.
Because when we
No,
get from a job, taxes are already taken away, so that that money was never for us to divide or do anything. It's just mandatory. So yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, but when you file the taxes at the end of the year, you get returned. That money you still have to pay 2.5%.
That return is then zakatable. Tax returns
Yes.
are zakatable.
Mhm.
Yeah. So normally what I did was, for example, every month I took some amount of money, what I need for my private things, and I calculated from that amount my zakat, instead of, if you have you do some projects and money comes in, and if you take out the taxes, of course, the money that is left from that money you put back in your business again. But if I did understand it correctly, so what I need to do is every income that comes from any project that I do, I need to take off the taxes, and what is left from that
Mm-hmm.
amount, I need to calculate two and a half
That's right.
percent, and
Yes,
that's my zakat. If I put that back, and then I can choose, okay, I paid my
that's correct.
zakat from this
Exactly.
amount. Now I have clean money to put back in my.
Yeah,
Okay,
now you can do
I
whatever you
see.
want with that money. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because
Okay,
you
mashallah.
can. It's up to you how much you want to invest into your money. It's your money. If it wasn't your money, you wouldn't be able to invest in the business, right? You're the
Yeah.
owner of the business, so that's your money. So if it's your money, you have to basically pay zakat on it.
Mashallah, very clear right now. Very, very clear. Thank you,
No
Salam.
no
Thank you.
problem. Mashallah.
Yeah, but the Suleiman, the problem is that a lot of businesses that run a lot of, if they don't pay their expenses, they will never survive. Like I know some businesses, this guy works in, their network is like $1 million, the sale and everything, but 90% of that they have to buy the product. They run a gas station where they have to buy the gas. It only get 4 cents per gallon. They get profit. So if they sold like suppose 100,000 worth of oil, and they only gonna make 4% profit, which is $4,000, right? So, but that they sell the oil, the gas, and they get $100,000 in his account. If he pays 2.5% on that 100,000, he's barely gonna have nothing. So the way it was explained that, yeah, because that $100,000 you get, you're gonna pay the $100,000 to get buy more gas, and
So
you're gonna only take home $4,000 out of that $100,000, because
so you're
that's the
saying,
cost.
yeah,
Mhm.
you're saying if
So
the person's really rich, like filthy rich, and he has an oil refinery, he's not going to be
no,
able to
let's just stay on
retain
this
his
topic.
business because he
No,
cannot
not
pay
we're not going. Let's just stay on this
2.5%
topic.
because he has
Okay, he
to
runs a
invest a
gas
lot
station.
back in his business.
Yeah, because he runs a gas station. The
That's it.
profit margin is very, very,
Well,
very.
that's what I think.
Yeah, no. The thing is that it's.
Examples like
Yeah, I mean, how
okay, he
he's going
runs
to
a
buy the
gas
gas? I
station,
mean,
let's say.
after
Okay,
paying the
right.
2.5%, his profit margin is so low that he cannot buy gas anymore.
So need to buy gas. So
You
okay,
know how the gas
so
stations are.
profit. Yeah, yeah. So we're not saying you have to give it on your profit margin. You have to give it on your net income, first of all. So you don't give it on your profit. You have to give it on your net income. Now the thing is, if you have a gas station, for example, right, you don't buy all the gas up front from your money that you cannot pay, and you're not gonna left with anything. First of all, they work with credit, right? So anything that you've taken as credit, you don't pay taxes on that. I mean, as a loan, right? That's a loan that you pay. Like, of course, you don't pay them up front, anyways. You pay them when you get the gas. So obviously, if you had no profit margin, you wouldn't be in that business, right? So I mean, it's just like 2.5% of any of your profit, basically, any of the money that comes in, on top of that. Like, if you think that, there is less than that, sorry, the amount of extra money that you're going to make on top of it is less than 2.5%, the business would not, the person would not be even doing that business in the first place, right? If someone is going for business like this, I mean, their return is like pretty high on that, right? And then, first of all, when you buy these products, or you get them from the suppliers, you don't pay money out of your pocket in cash to get those things, right? So let's say if I have a gas station, and then let's say Shell or any of these companies, Chevron, they come and I buy gas. You're not paying them money in cash to buy the gas. They give you the gas on credit, right? So if you have gotten all that money in credit, that means you didn't have to pay zakat on it, right? Because it was a loan. So in that case, that would still work, because
I mean,
it wasn't all the cash money that you paid. They're still
I
giving
mean,
you loan, and then you whatever money is coming in, you're just calculating 2.5% of it, and then the rest of the money you can use. Yes, 2.5% is going to go out of your account. You might not even notice it, but when we think about it, oh well, 2.5% is going to go out of your account. You might not even notice it. But when we think about it, oh well, I'm not going to be able to survive because it's a lot of money. It's really not a lot of money. Like, it's not a lot of money. Like, when you think about it, even if you have a big business, do your math. You have asked this question in a realistic fashion. For example, you want to buy 100 goods. First of all, how are you going to buy it? You're going to have that $100,000, right? So where are you going to get those $100,000 for? Either they're going to be sitting in your bank on the money you've already paid zakat from, right? Or you're use that money to pay zakat. Either way, you're not paying zakat on top of that money that you already have, either whether it's loaned or it's already sitting in your bank account. So then whatever the money comes in into your account from that, and then you're going to be left with a lot of money after that too. And so then you use that money and you put it back into your business. As humans, we are. I mean, I'm not saying human being is stingy, right? That's our trait as a human being. God says in the Quran. So the idea is that you get all this money. It's a lot of money, right? So it's not really even a noticeable amount. 2.5% is a very small amount. So if you take that out of the equation, it doesn't mean that your business is going to fall apart. You're still going to have a very lucrative business, proper business, right? It's a sustainable business model. That just depends on your business. So if you're not in enough in the first place to use that, that's not a good business to begin with. In other words, if you don't have a very big profit margin that you can, so you can definitely you're able to pay our charities. I mean, we have to see what the messenger says. The messenger clearly writes it's your net income. He doesn't say your net profit. And he said the only thing that we actually, it's good to read what the messenger wrote, how the messenger has explained it when you look at zakat. So if you go to appendix 15, yeah, if you go to appendix 15 of the dictionary, it clearly
Salman, your
defines what
voice is
it
cutting
is,
off.
and it doesn't include the expenses. Okay, so if you go to appendix 15, under the charity and go under the topic of obligatory charity, it says in the second paragraph, says zakat must be carefully calculated and given away on a regular basis whenever we receive any income. It doesn't say any profit. It says government taxes should be deducted, but no other expenses. So expenses are whether it's your whether okay. So your expenses are basically anything, right? But you can see no other expenses, just debts, mortgages, or living expenses. So debts, mortgages,
I
living
think his
expenses, all these
talking
things,
is
whatever you're.
coming.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, your voice is breaking so
It,
much we could
it's
barely
yeah,
understand what
it's
you're saying.
constantly very choppy, Solomon.
Okay,
We try to
hold on.
interfere, but then I don't think our voice is coming to you.
Is this better? Is this better?
Yeah, no, we can hear you, but it goes out and then
Yeah.
there's silence for a few
Tick,
seconds.
tick, tick.
Okay, I think I turned off my Wi-Fi, so I think it might get better. So I think if you read that appendix, like it clearly says income, and it says no expenses. You don't deduct. It's
Yeah,
your
no, I know.
yeah,
Suleiman,
yeah,
I understand that part.
yeah,
It's just that
yeah,
in the businesses, when they do their inventory and all that, they don't count as an income. That's
yeah.
that's
I mean,
not that's a sale. That's a sale. How much you sell today? They say, oh, we sold $100,000 today. That's the sale.
uh,
That's not an income. They have to deduct the expenses and everything. Then that's a net income. That's just a sale or how
okay,
much how
okay.
much
So
business did you do? That's not considered as an income as a business point of view. I know he says in net income, that is mostly from your paycheck, you get a net income. But as a business, when you have, I know a lot of people they're doing the transportation business and the profit margin is even, they do in big volumes. So they're getting like $2 million, but all of that money is going to go back. So if they're going to, they make a lot of money, but if they're going to pay the zakat on that $2 million, now 2.5% is a lot. That's going to take out of their profit. But that money is not even theirs, that coming in, that going back into the business, because that's how you run the business. If you consider it as your income, that's not your income, that's not your net income or anything like that. That is part of the rolling business. So they have a business account set up where money comes in and going, and when they take their net income out of that what is theirs, that's when they pay charity on it. That's what
so we're
most of the
talking
business that I
about.
do.
I think we're talking about the same thing. We're talking about your net income, right? In. I'm not talking about, for example, your gross income. I'm talking about your net income,
Yeah,
right?
net
Yeah.
income, what you take home. Not your sales. That's your sale. That's your daily
So,
sales.
one example, I just want to be clear. So, let's say a farmer um, has like 100 people working for him in a field, and the crop comes once a year, and he gives each farmer share of the crop, because in older times that's how people used to do. They give to each person, and 100 people take away, and then whatever is left is the net for this guy who owns the land. And then the zakat will be on that, or zakat will be before giving away to 100 people.
Okay. I think it's good to read what the messenger of the covenant wrote.
No,
Um,
I'm not
no, no,
disputing,
no, no.
asking.
I'm not directing it at you. That I'm just reading what the messenger has written regarding the income. So
Hmm.
I'm saying we can just read it and
Okay, go.
take away from what it says. It says
Which
uh,
appendix?
Appendix 15, uh, the part where he talks about zakat charity. I'm looking at the second paragraph. Uh, and it says zakat must be carefully calculated and given away on a regular basis
Hmm.
whenever we receive any income, right? And like, we have different types of income, like you have operating income and all the kinds of income. but then you have expenses on top of that, and usually people deduct that from it. But he says you have to give charity whatever. So basically, the way he described it
Okay,
in simple
mashallah.
words is that any money that comes into your pocket and is yours to keep, you give charity on it. But for example, other expenses that you have to pay out of that, you don't deduct those expenses from it. You just deduct the taxes and then you pay the rest. So if
Yeah.
you see here again the definition, he says whenever we receive any income, regular basis, from whenever we receive any income, government taxes should be deducted, but not other expenses
So okay,
such as
Salman, but hold
debts, mortgages, and living expenses.
on. Same thing. We're gonna just get into a little bit more technical side of it.
Hmm.
Is that your income will be after giving, because that already is decided. This money will go to these farming workers who are working. That's already decided. So let's say he reaps the crop, he cannot keep all of that for himself. He must give it to them, and then the rest is his, the crop. Okay, after he, because it's already pre-decided, they were working all this time, they were gonna get paid on the day of the harvest. So he harvested the crop, 100 people were given, and then the rest is his. What he does with that, he must take the zakat out of that now, not before, because that was decided. That share of the crop was never gonna be his, because he cannot claim it now. That would be dishonesty.
I'm
I'm
not
just
clear.
okay. For example, he
Can
harvested.
I, sorry, can I maybe give the example of mine? Maybe that would be also answer my question.
No,
Uh,
I just want to clarify this
yeah.
situation so for my own knowledge, and I'm not
Okay.
disputing anything. I want to completely understand this, inshallah,
Yeah.
that
Inshallah.
a farmer has harvests the crops once or twice a year, whatever, one kind and the other kind, and then on the day of the harvest, he already knows how many people, because the people, my father was also, he was a farmer as well, and the on the day of harvest those people will get their share who worked. They already decided how many people were working, they will get their share. So when the zakat will be before giving them their share, because their money
Yeah,
was never going to be his anyway.
their money is his expenses, right? These workers are his expenses. Like if you have a machine and you had to pay for the machine instead of a worker, that are your these are your operating expenses.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
I get that now.
yeah.
Got it. Okay, mashallah. I mean, I never been in business, so I don't know these things very much.
Mhm.
Okay. So can I? It was very. First, I thought I understood this, but um, can I maybe give an example of my own business and then see
Sure.
if I understood this correctly?
I,
Okay.
I
So
thought
what
you.
I'm doing,
Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
So um, what I'm doing is we are doing construction projects. So then there is one customer. I take a project from that customer. Let's say the amount is 50,000 euros or dollars. To be able to deliver the project, to build the building, etc., and do all of the things, I need some people who need to do the job, and they are not my workers. They don't get loan from me. I give them for everything that they do. They get their money. Okay, so what I did is I look at the project. I look at the project. I look at the I take all the money out that I need to everything that's left, that amount, I could do two things. A part of it, I that amount to my when you guys
I'm not able to hear.
started. Sorry?
No, I was saying your voice
You
was
had some
cutting out. I don't know
questions, Clement?
if it's just me or other people were able to hear you. No, I was just saying your voice was cutting out for me. I wasn't sure if it was
Okay.
just me or everybody.
Are you?
Okay, so I think
Okay.
I
The
understood.
connection is not really.
Can you guys hear me
Not
properly now?
No, it's going very fast.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I
Okay,
can
great.
hear you. Yes, fine.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think
Can I?
from I understood you said that you have you get paid from your construction gigs, and then you have to pay your workers and all that, right? And then you pay them first, and then you pay your charity. So whenever you get paid, you have to just deduct your taxes, and then the rest of it, before you pay them, you have to just deduct your taxes, and then you have to pay charity. Then whatever's left, then you do whatever you want. You can pay people, or you can pay for the building. You don't have to invest. But the point is that when the money comes in, you just take 2.5%, and the rest of it you can do whatever you want with that money. You can pay the people, or you can pay them next month. You can pay the people, or you can pay them next month.
Okay, Suleiman,
It's totally up to you. But what
I'm
you
so
have to
sorry. I
do
couldn't really
first of all
understand because the
is
voice is
the
coming and
2.5%.
going.
Okay, is it coming now?
Can you hear me now, Suleiman?
Is it?
It's gone again.
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah, but your voice is coming and going again. So okay, maybe.
Basically, all I'm saying is you pay before paying workers.
Okay, Suleiman, I
You pay your zakat before paying anybody.
understand, but this is my
Yes.
yes, I understand, but that will be okay. So the money that comes in to be able to build the building, that's not mine. I am just somebody who is managing the money um, to be able to build it.
Yeah, of course.
So
That's not your money.
if I, okay, I'm
That's
sorry.
the work. That's their money, right? That's the client's money. That's the client's money, right? You're talking about the money. You're we're just talking
Yes,
about the
client's
money
money.
that
Yes,
comes
actually,
into
it's the
your
client's
pocket.
money.
Like that's your money. Like the no, I'm saying you have to pay charity on the money that's coming for you. That's coming as that's coming as the money that's coming to you. Like for example, I have a business, right? And I work for companies, right? Now, they then I have workers, but whenever they pay me for my services, they pay me a set amount, and then I have other workers that are working for me. So, but before I give my charity, I'm supposed to give my charity before I pay my workers. So I calculate my 2.5% from the money they give me for my services. Then I give money to my workers. I mean, then I pay my charity, and then I pay to my workers. Now, if there's money that they're giving you to buy, let's say, materials and all that, of course that's not your money. That's just their money. You're just buying materials for them, from their money. But if they're
Yes,
paying you
and
for your services, then yeah, that's the money that you have to pay from for
no,
the.
it's like, yeah, it's the same as materials, but you can see it as the same as materials. Like they give you money to buy materials for the project, but they also give you money to find the people who can build the buildings, right? Can I see it like that? Then
No, no, no,
no,
no. That's
oh,
different.
okay,
If someone says, I'm giving you this $10,000 to go get, the paint, for example, then
okay,
that's not your money, right? You can't say, okay, I have
correct.
to pay charity on this, and then I can buy paint. But if you have given them your hourly rate, for example, and then they pay you, then you give charity on that whenever you receive your payment, right? And then you pay 2.5% on that, and then you pay your workers, because you can have 5 workers, you can have 10 workers. It's up to you. You can have as many workers as you want, or you can use that money towards marketing. It's the same, and do whatever you want. But the first thing you have to do is pay your 2.5% out of that. But let's say if the person says, I'm just gonna give you this $100,000 for you to go buy some materials, you're not gonna give charity on that, because that's not money for your services. They just gave you that money to go get the goods, right? So that's not the money that was given to you per se. Let's say it's just let's say if I give you $100, and I say, Jaffer, you're going to the market. Can you buy can you get me a computer? You're going outside to the Apple store, let's say, and I say, can you go get me a computer? You're not going to calculate 2.5% out of that. You just go get me
Okay,
my computer. It's not your money.
but okay, but if I send someone else instead of myself, if I send someone else and I pay him some amount of money to get that material, right? That
That
person
those
whom
are
I,
your expenses. You're not going to use his money if you're gonna. But if you have to pay something like that, I mean, okay, look, if
yeah,
if this person's your worker, you don't pay, like, if this person's your, like, okay, how does it work? Do they pay you money separately for these types of things, or they pay you a set amount altogether as your
oh,
fees?
okay, so I take a project, let's say very, very simple, like, okay, we need
uh,
to put tiles on the floors.
uh,
Okay, then I take this project, but there are some other, they are not, I don't pay them loan, right? They don't, they have their own company, the guys who are putting the tiles. I am only the manager. I manage this. So I take the money from them, then pay the people who are putting the tiles, pay for the materials, and what's left is my profit. It's
yes.
my money. So from that I calculate my zakat. But
No,
now
so
what
you're
you're saying, yeah.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So what you're saying now, if I understood this correctly, is that if I take the money and then I can go and buy materials, and what is left, I need to calculate my zakat from that, and then what the amount that is left, I can give to the workers who are going to put the tiles and do the job. I don't want to make it too
Yeah,
complicated,
you
but
have to, yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
Yeah, just whatever money comes into your pocket, you know, you pay 2.5% on that
okay.
minus the taxes, and then you put the rest towards whatever else it is that you need to do. Whether you need to pay workers or you need to buy new stuff for your company, or whether it's something your debts, things like that, whatever it is, you know, you calculate the 2.5% before that. I think that that's sort of like a debt, right? Because you get those things and then you have to pay for them, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
and it's actually their money. The
yeah,
guys who are putting the tiles, it's their money. It's not my money. You see, that's the little issue there. But you
Yeah,
are t
no, but I
true.
think the way, I mean, I'm not into construction, right? But
yeah,
the way, I mean, I believe any construction company would work is that you don't charge. I mean, you add it to the amount, obviously, that you're asking them when you bill them, right, for your services. But they give you a lump sum amount, and then it's up to you how you distribute it, right, towards your expenses, and that includes the tiles, the workers, all of that stuff, and your services, right? It's just like, let's say you're a mechanic, right, and you fix cars. I mean, I'm trying to simplify this example a little bit. So let's say you fix cars and the client pays you $500, and for $200 you had to get the machines. You had to pay $100 to your workers, and then the rest of the money was going to come in your pocket. Now you don't pay. Let's say $400 was going to come in your pocket. Now you're not going to pay the charity on just $400. You're gonna pay it on the total amount, and then you're gonna do whatever you want with that, and that's it.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, makes sense.
Mashallah, to my understanding, this is my belief is that when you run business, the net income is not coming in my pocket until the building is paid and all that. This is my understanding. So my net income will be whatever profit. Like I do sort of a contract too. I'm like self-employed, and I get all the money that I get in, and I have to pay some expenses. But in my case, it's very different because my expenses are not a lot,
Hmm.
and it's still 30% of the profit that I take. I mean, all the income comes in, but I pay, mashallah, pay the 2.5% because I know it's not a lot. But I can see a lot of businesses that run on high volume. That what you're explaining, paying for the material and all that stuff, they run on high profit, very low profit margin, and they do high volume. In that sense, if you say the car mechanic example, where you have $500 comes in, and in there, if they look at to their example with high volume and low profit margin, the the machinery would be like 500 comes in. The machinery cost will be $450, and the employee cost will be $40, and you only have left with $10. I know you say that when you should get out of that business, but a lot of businesses run on high volume
Okay.
and low profit margin. If the
Hmm.
same formula is applied into the big businesses, but they make a lot of money, but
Mm.
if the profit coming in and out is very little compared to what the cost is, then if you pay
Uh,
on the cost, then you don't have any money left.
okay, so I think what will clarify this for you probably is that I posted a link in the chat. So if you see that, I think that will probably show you because it breaks down all the different types of expenses. You have operating expenses, you have selling expenses, you have selling expenses in your operating expenses. You have administrative expenses, right? And then you have your operating income, and then you have your interest expense, right? And then you have your income before taxes. Then you minus your income tax expense from there, which is your taxes, and then you see your net income after taxes. Now that's the amount that you're gonna pay your zakat on, right? That's your net
Yeah,
income.
yeah, but even when you file taxes, that's not when you file the business form, when you file the end of the
That's not
year.
your net
That
income.
yeah, that's not our net income. Net income comes
Right.
out at the end of all the expenses that have been paid.
Hmm. Right.
So adjusted gross income, and then there's a net income.
Yes,
Uh,
now it's clear. Now I understand. Okay, now it's clear. Because you know the what Adam brother said is like your profit, the margin of your profit is actually low. So if I am going to calculate my zakat on the total amount, then it will be a very huge amount, and what is left will be almost nothing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
Look,
you take you,
look. It's
yeah.
not. You're not paying zakat on your sales. You're paying it on your net income. So, like this example I posted, this person had a sale of $500,000, right? And then he took out the cost of goods out of that, right? Then he calculated the gross profit. Then from the gross profit, he calculated minus the operating expenses and the operating income, and then he took the taxes out of that, and then he got the net income. The net income is what you're supposed to pay taxes on, right?
I thought that's what we were talking about. We all meant the net income though. Because, for example, I invest 100,000 from my already purified money, already paid, saved, that after paying zakat and all that. And for example, I have a very quick return. Let's say it's some kind of stocks. I put 10,000 and next day I cash it and it comes in my hand 15,000. Zakat would be on 5,000 or 10,000, which I just put in there, which was already purified money. So that the what I made was the 5,000, right? That's my net profit, net income, net everything, right? So the zakat would not be on 15,000, it would be on that 5,000. No?
Okay, my my brain has just given up on this subject.
No, Solomon. We're just maybe all are on the same point, but putting.
Right.
I saved $10,000 in my saving account after paying zakat. Every paycheck, I saved some money, and I invested in a very quick gain kind of investment. I put
Yeah.
10,000. It came back as 15,000 in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
What is
Yeah.
my payable zakat on?
I think these types of examples that when we give, we have a whole balance sheet. Like it's very difficult to calculate it,
No,
like
but it's simple.
without
That
being
thousand
without it being
from
visual.
already I invested from my purified. My
Mm-hmm.
income
Mm-hmm.
did not become 15,000. It was five.
Right. Okay. Let's look. So, are you seeing that link I posted on the chat?
Hold
Inside the chat.
on. Facebook on Facebook.
No, no, on our chat on site inside the study. The study chat inside
Yeah,
the.
on
So if you
Messenger.
see, yeah, no, not on Messenger.
I don't want to go to that chat because then I have hard time.
Coming
Uh,
out. Okay, I
yeah,
can post
then
it. I
I
can
get
post.
stuck and I can't speak.
Okay, I can post it inside that chat also.
Yeah, Messenger. If you could put it on Messenger.
Mm, okay. The thing is, actually, yeah. Actually, you won't have a hard time because it's going to open another window. Um, but I can post it in Messenger as well if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Where's the messenger? Okay, so if you see, I posted it there, right? So now let's look at that example. So see, even if they had the sales here, the sales was on credit, right? These types of businesses, when they operate, you don't pay them the money up front to buy the stuff. First of all, even right, it's all on credit. You're not supposed to pay zakat on credit. So then you have the cost of the goods that were sold, right? What I think what Adam was asking was, you have a huge number of sales. Do you pay charity on the sales? No. I mean, you paid on your net income after taxes. So in this case, he had $500,000 that came out of sales, but the net income after taxes was only $23,000. So you pay the zakat from the $23,000, not
Yeah,
from the $500,000.
that's what we all meant. At least I had this in mind. That's what I mean.
But we were talking about investing in the business before. Like, I invested back into the business. So I said, no, you first give your charity, and then you can invest
Exactly.
whatever you
Yes.
want back into the business.
Yes.
Yes, that's very clear.
Yeah.
That
There
is
I have my answer. That was important for me. So before I thought, okay, money comes in, but this money, I didn't see it as my own money. I saw it as the money of the business, and you use that money back, you put it back in to be able to earn more money in the future, for example. But now I understand that everything that comes is actually your own money, and you can decide if you want to put it
that should be
back or
already
if you don't put.
the conducted money.
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah. I
yes,
think
that's
that's
clear.
clear. That's what I was giving that very simple example. If I have $10,000 from my already zakat deducted money, and it all I take it all out, right? 10,000 and my the 5,000 came as income. So my operating expense was that 10,000, which was already after zakat, and then what I do with 5,000, I should pay my zakat, whether I put it back in investment or not. That is after the zakat for on 5,000, not on 10,000. Originally, I had put
Yes.
it. That's yeah. That's where what I was thinking.
Okay,
I don't
mashallah.
know why we all lost the communication.
Well, I
Um,
think we also have bad reception, so on that.
And the
uh,
voices were coming and going,
that is
so
clear.
it was.
What we do with that income after,
Hmm.
whether we invest it or not, that should be already purified, of course.
Hmm.
Because we cannot already take, oh, I'm going to invest this, let's put that aside, and I take do
Hmm.
zakat on, let's say, on
Yeah.
that 5,000.
Yeah.
I say,
Yeah.
but I'm going to put 2,500 back again, so I'm not gonna get, no, 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 no.
Hmm.
That has to be zakat done on that, and then I do whatever with that.
Hmm.
That was the, I thought you were saying like originate. Yeah. Okay. I think I am clear on that, mashallah. Is everybody on the same page?
Yes, yes, me, and now I am. It's
Yeah,
very
mashallah.
clear. Yeah,
No,
yeah, mashallah.
it's good
Thank you.
to that we ponder upon these things because business expenses could be confusing.
Mhm.
Because
Thank
then after that, you want to spend on advertising as much as you want,
Hmm.
or you don't
Yeah.
advertise at all,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
It's already purified money.
Okay, I guess, do we have any more questions? We
I'm
are
good, man.
okay.
Next time,
It's
inshallah.
next time.
Suleiman.
Okay,
Suleiman.
mashallah. Thank you all
You
for.
had another
Thank you.
question, brother.
No, 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 no. It will be for next time, inshallah. Suleiman is
Are
tired
you
now.
sure
Yes,
before
yes.
you ask?
You
We
know,
have all
I
day
thought,
long.
I thought it would be, ask questions and then within 5 minutes you have your answer and then it's okay. But
Mashallah.
next
Well,
time, inshallah.
it's good we understand things, take our time and discuss them.
Yeah, mashallah.
Mashallah.
I'm
So,
very, very happy.
Yeah,
Very, extremely happy.
yeah,
mashallah.
yeah. You know what the thing is that it's only, 2.5%, and Messenger says in 2 3 places that that's just the minimum. That's a minimum standard. You can pay 5%. He goes up to say you can even pay 50% zakat on your money if you want to. So this is all righteous work. We are here in this world just to do one thing and to
He
Yeah,
said
so after
50%
zakat,
zakat
it
or
would
he
be
said
charity.
charity?
Any money would be.
He
Zakat
said
means,
zakat. He said zakat
Zakat is
is
precise.
2.5 is just minimum. He said if you make $1 million, you can give 500,000 on zakat. That's what he says.
mm-hmm.
I
No,
can
I
pull
think
up
that
the
that part in God's eyes would be the charity then.
Yeah, that's
no
just
no he
charity.
he's no he no he
Zakat is
says zakat. No, honestly, his words are
of
his
course,
that's
but
zakat.
see, this is how it is. Like when I send zakat, take zakat out on my income, and I'm sending it back home, I add more money to it. But in my mind, I know that is my zakat, and this is all
Mm-hmm.
the lump sum
Yeah.
I'm sending.
Yeah, the zakat is, the obligatory charity. So the
Yeah.
rest is not obligatory, but the obligatory is amount that's obligatory is 2.5%. But what he meant is that, extra, that's extra charity. Even if he used the word zakat, I
Yeah.
know he meant just charity. Like you can pay more
So like
charity,
one
but you can
must
pay more
go
if you
ahead.
want.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
not to the dot,
Yeah.
like say $2.50.
Yeah.
You can make
Yeah.
it $3, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no.
That's
I'll look into that audio clip. He specifically says, zakat is
mm.
not
But then yeah, but then
on the
no,
audio.
let's not get confused by the words.
Yeah. He meant just charity. Like you can pay more
That
charity. You
zakat
don't
is
have to
not
pay
to
the
the
minimum
penny
I'll
and to
look
basically,
the
right?
into
dot.
it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even at the time of zakat, you can pay more. That would be zakat giving, but it's like instead of $20, you give away $40, right? So that is still going with your zakat, but that is extra though. It's extra credit, meaning extra will go with your zakat. Let's say every month you send zakat, but it's instead of which comes to $50, you're sending 100 anyway. At the time of zakat, you're sending that. Doesn't matter how much you send at that time. You can call it whatever, but the zakat is zakat, right? That is minimum.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I looked at your the link that you sent me. Understanding each other well.
Mashallah.
I
This is what I meant
just
to
wanted to
you.
share something with
The
the
link that
group
you sent in the
after the
messenger.
after this broadcast stops, inshallah.
You want to talk about
Sorry, I didn't
something
mean to
else
cut
after
off
the broadcast stops?
anybody.
Mm-hmm. No, just share something.
Okay, I'll stop the broadcast first then. God willing, our next study is
Yeah,
going to be
let me know
on
stops.
Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time, and our teacher is going to be me, right? Yes.
It's me.
God bless you all. Thank you, and thank you for the study. Oh, I thought you said it wasn't you were last time. You switched with me, so it's going to be me. No, no. The last time you
Was it?
switched with me, so
Uh,
it's going to be
you did last time that.
my turn.
Oh, okay. You want to do that?
No, because I switched with you.
So it's
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
inshallah.
No,
I
because
did
you did it
too.
last time because you had switched with me, right?
True that.